Hello and welcome to the DCG's development update. We have the platform teams, we have the core team and the mobile teams today with us as well. We are planning this session for 60 minutes and we would like to ask you to raise your questions with the full context in the live chat below. And we will have a dedicated session at the very end. My name is Balázs. I'm going to facilitate this event, and we are going to start with the platform teams. So please welcome Sam. Would you kick us off?
Yes. Sorry, just needed to mute myself. Let's go to the first slide. Yeah, so a quick overview of who was working on what. Well, me and Ivan and Igor were working on versioning. Versioning is done. I'll get around to that.
Woo!
Yay. Contract bounds. I was working on contract bounds. Contract bounds is done. The sound, please.
Yeah, I should have find some applause sound and cheering sound. Woo!
Okay, wonderful. States Wisdoms has been working on state sync. Not done yet. But soon to be done. And then we have Rust SDK that Lukasz was heavily working on, and Evgeny worked on a little bit at the beginning of the sprint. Okay, let's move on.
Thank you very much, Lukasz.
Yeah, hi. So I was working on Rust SDK. As you can see the diagram of the architecture of that SDK that we need to deliver on the right side. At this point, we merged RS JAPI client for Rust, which is just a communication layer, transport layer that sends messages between platform and the SDK. We have a proof verifier that is more or less working. I would call it is in QA right now, so we have some bugs to fix, but I would say no heavy development is there, just like QA, fixing bugs and stuff like that. And the biggest task here was to integrate with versioning, which was merged, to use versioning and everything that was delivered there. And next component is the RSSDK controller. That is the main interface for the users, and that's something I started to work on this sprint. So far, we have some implementation of read of documents, data contracts, and identity, and list of documents, and also started some work on integration tests, because basically, like, done. That RSSDK will be done when it's well tested, and also the test will be a good example of usage, right? So that's this effort. And last thing that was more or less idle is the C bindings, where we are working on a external library or external macro that we will use to export bindings, and this work was this work is going forward, right? But on the RSSDK bindings part, we are just waiting to finish that library first. And that's more or less it on our side in terms of Rust SDK.
Thank you very much. Let's move on with GroveDB.
Hey guys.
Wisdom.
Yeah. This is Wisdom from the GroveDB team. So this sprint, half of the time was spent on chunking, and the other half was spent on finding and fixing some bugs in GroveDB that we noticed as a result of some of the tests in Drive. So the first one is the subquery path bug in proofs. This was literally just a one-line bug, but it was extremely difficult to find. And it came up in the RS Drive test. So one of the RS Drive tests hit a very rare edge case, and that's why we hadn't noticed this bug before. So I figured it out, and then I pushed the PR to fix this. So this is working now, and all the tests that we're filling as a result of this are passing now. Then another bug we noticed was a bug in the just-in-time cost. So this bug, trying to remember the content, but we did find it, but we haven't fixed it yet, and that will be something we'll do in the upcoming sprint. Because of the bug is actually quite complex to solve, and we'll need to move it to another layer. I won't go into too much details. So the chunking, now I'm going back to chunking. Last time we had the goal of doing breadth-first ordering because of depth-first ordering was giving us some problems. So that has been done, and we have resolved all the height-proof problems that we're facing that time. Then I moved on to integrating some trees. So before, chunking just worked for the basic mercs, but it didn't work for the sum trees. So now you can replicate a sum tree essentially and still preserve the sum values. Then something really interesting came up. I noticed that we do write the node links. So we have a concept of nodes, and these nodes have links, left links and right links. So what I did first is I got the verifier of the merge state tree to also verify the node links. So now we have a very specific type of link for a node that still has future chunks underneath implementation.
I think you're breaking up.
Of chunking. But what this allows, so when you're doing restoration, you have, hello? Yeah, so when you're doing restoration, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Is it good?
Yeah, please continue. And let's see.
So I said when you're doing restoration, we have some internal states that we use to facilitate restoration. Now, without these internal states, if something happens during the restoration process, you have to restart in order to reaccumulate that state and then proceed. But with the ability to verify links, we can detect when the state is not complete, and we can also figure out where the state was at the time of interruption, and then recreate that state and be able to like resume from the from any point that restoration failed. So this is like a really handy feature in the sense that when you're doing state sync and something happens, as long as you're using the same snapshot, you would be able to restore directly from where you stopped. And just a little fix with the layer iter function. Not going to go into too many details. And the last part is to finalize the GraphDB chunking. So this is still in progress, and this will be the main point of the next sprint. So that's it from my end.
Thank you very much, Wisdom. Let's continue with versioning.
Yay.
Yay!
Yay! Half dead developers, please stand up and Sam, would you kick us off with versioning?
Well, I will, but am I giving this one? I guess.
I mean,
Sure.
Ivan can also. You can.
I mean, I was so it was mostly Ivan and Igor working on versioning for WASM parts. And for basically, WASM means the interaction with JavaScript between Rust and JavaScript, for those that don't understand. So basically, this was needed for our JavaScript SDK. And yeah, and it's done. So I'm not going to go through every single item here. It's a lot of work. Igor and Ivan blew it away. They finished. And versioning is done.
Amazing job. Congrats
Yeah,
to Ivan and Igor.
And
Ivan, do you want to add anything to this?
I think Sam just explained the thing. The versioning in Rust was done the previous sprint, and this sprint, our goal was just to update the binding, WASM binding for DPP, and update SDK and test suite, Dashmate, and other components to the new Rust code what we made before.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And then fix all the bugs, clean up things, and make sure that everything are passing, all tests are passing, and we are good. So
yeah, thank you very much. Also,
final touches.
It was a huge effort, the whole versioning thing, and it took a lot of people, a lot of weeks of work, and it is finally done. So yeah, I'm sure all of us will celebrate with a big sleep tonight. Thank you very much.
Right after the demo.
Would you continue, please, Ivan?
Oh yeah, we also did some refactoring during the versioning, and for the parts where we saw the problems or potential bugs. And one of these plays was the data contract validation of documents with data contract. So we changed the approach a little bit. So previously we validated documents against one big data contract JSON schema. And with this refactoring, we split the JSON schema into like JSON schema for each document type. It's more correct and efficient way to do things. And we validate only the user-defined properties. So when user-defined properties are for the data contract, with JSON schema, we validate only them. We don't touching the system properties like ID, $ID, or only ID, and things like this with JSON schema anymore. And in this task, we updated the validation functions for the documents batch transition, the state transition to create documents in the network, to utilize new validation function. And one of the benefits of this new validation function is not just simpler, but it's also doesn't compile JSON schema every validation how it was before. So we compile the JSON schema only once, so like intermediate format, and we keep it inside the contract. So for example, in case of drive ABCI, when we keep this data contract, the frequently used data contracts in cache, the validators are ready for validation there as well. So it's pretty efficient solution, pretty elegant now. Yeah, and that's about it.
Thanks for sharing. Sam?
Yes, so contract bounds. Contract bounds are also done. They were, as I said a while ago, they were started 2 months or like actually, I think they were started like 6 months ago or some very long time ago. And I had all this code somewhere, and I basically needed to take that code and put it in, basically redo it for versioning and like version it and do some. It hadn't been really finished. There was just a little bit left to do. So anyways, it's all done, merged in. You can now query through contract bounds. Now, for people, for developers that might be interested, what are contract bounds and what does it actually do? So it allows to communicate. Yeah, and I'm really kind of sorry to call it contract bounds because the actual underlying feature isn't explained through that term. Let's imagine you create a dApp, right? And you want to enable peer-to-peer communication from within the dApp, encrypted peer-to-peer communication. Like you want to be able to talk me to, let's imagine it's like an instant messenger, the simplest thing, right? But you want it all to be encrypted so that when I message Balash here, nobody else can see those messages. So to do that, you actually have to create a encryption protocol, right? And you need to make it so messages are encrypted between the different people. Now, what that also means is putting a key, making a key public, then doing a, well, in our case, we use Diffie-Hellman, elliptical curve Diffie-Hellman between two keys, and that creates a shared key that can be used for encryption and decryption. Actually, we do it differently, where we use a different key for the encrypt for one way and a different key for the way back. You don't always have to do that. You can use one key for each way, but we just generally use two. So, well, I mean, yeah. So the contract bounds allow you to specify in a contract that you're able to have these encryption and decryption keys, and it will basically add specialized storage inside the identity for any contract that specifies that it has key bounds. Now, why is it called contract bounds and not like contract specific encryption keys? Because actually the contract bounds, that space that allows for specific information for contracts, can be used for other things. Right now, the first thing is only keys, encryption and decryption keys. So the feature that actually does exist right now is encryption and decryption between inside an app. Now you could do this before as well. The problem is that you would be putting a key in your generalized identity space. And why is that wrong? Well, because let's imagine that you have two iOS apps, right? One written by the most amazing developers out there, and one written by people just out of college that don't understand cryptography at all. I mean, people out of college can sometimes be amazing. Sorry about that. But let's imagine that they do something wrong and they leak the private key that you have there. Well, you don't want the private key from one app to go polluting, to break your privacy on another app, right? So like if a developer breaks their privacy and like releases something really insecure, well, it's only going to affect that app and not like another app. So that's the point of contract bounds. Anyways, that was a little bit extra explanation that probably nobody really needed. But anyways, it's all done. It's merged in. Let's go on.
Thank you very much.
So Beta 1, also known as V025. What we did today is we built the components, all the tests are passing. We did a deployment this morning and we were waiting for minor activation, minor voting, and then the activation would be happening later today. There is a slight wrench that happened in this plan, but the activation will still happen today. we had a issue with the minor voting, but we just needed to release a new version, and we've already released the new version, so it's just going to delay things by a few hours. But yeah, we will activate today. There's no issue in platform. It was just an oversight. But those things can happen when you're working on a lot of different things at the same time. Okay, let's. Yay! I mean, like activation. This is going to testing phase was something that let's just put it has been a long time coming. Anyways,
long time coming.
So just so people know, before we go on what's needed for beta 2, the testing phase is why we're going to testing phase right now. Well, incubator and everybody can basically right now use a version that's very, 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 very similar to what we're going to mainnet with. The things that we still need to work on a little bit, I'm going to go on that right afterwards. They won't actually affect them. They will affect some parts of the system, but they're not going to really affect incubator or anybody trying to use platform. So from this day on, well, not today probably because, well, I mean, if you're in the US, probably today you could play on it later today. But for most, like now, you can start using it. We're asking people don't attack it yet, because we're most likely going to find problems just from normal usage. And that's what we want to get through first, right? We want people to be using it. And let's see, like if we'll find problems, right? And once we're done finding and fixing those problems, then we go on to the attack phase where we like try to break our system, actively try, go through the code, try to find issues, try to like attack it. And that's going to take, that will be later. I'm not going to give times because I'm horrible at times, as people generally know, but we are going as fast as possible while, making sure that things are secure and safe and everything. Let's go on. Beta 2. So what is left to do for beta 2? So yeah, we cross out versioning, cross out core block reward processing, cross out data contract bounds. The finalization of withdrawals still hasn't happened. Now, withdrawals are definitely not at 0%. Withdrawals should be working, but we never really did. I mean, I've said this probably every week, but we've never actually done the final step where we just make sure that it's compatible between core and platform. So we have to do that. And that's going to take a little bit of time. Should be not a big time, but we just haven't touched it for 6 months. So we have to finalize that. Masternode voting is a negative part. I looked at a PR on last week, and it was not what was needed for Masternode voting. I guess the requirements were not well enough defined, and that will have to be restarted. I am going to be working on that personally, so I'll get that done. I've already been working on it for 2 days. And I think I'm probably, I don't want to give not percentage. Well, I'm at least 20% done. So yeah. But I haven't been working on it like 16 hours in 2 days. Probably worked on it for 3 hours over the last 2 days. It's less of work than data contract bounds. Okay. Now, fee cost tweaking. Yeah, we have to tweak the cost of fees. That's also something, that's there. And state sync. So state sync, we were waiting on GroveDB. And yeah, we saw the update from GroveDB earlier. So once GroveDB is done, everything should fall into place there. But right now, it's blocked on the platform side. Okay,
Thank
cool.
you very much.
Let's go
Shall
on
we
to-
continue with core team?
Yep.
Pasta, Ori?
Alrighty, so I'm gonna get started with us today. Like Sam mentioned earlier, Core v20 has been deployed on testnet for a couple of days now. However, the hard fork has not been activated yet. We have a alpha version that includes all of the v20 work. There seems to be a little bit of changes that might still need to be done on asset locks. We're not sure about that. We have to look into that a little bit more. But we have Alpha 9 right now, and that's currently on testnet. We're moving forward with v20 development work. Everything is basically done. I think a couple of these PRs are really just blocked on needing some release notes written for them, and then they will be ready to be merged as well. A big accomplishment, I think that this was in this period of the last 2 weeks, is we have finally integrated Sentinel into core. And so v20, I think alpha 6 through 9 are all now independent of Sentinel, and they do not need Sentinel whatsoever. They do all of the trigger management and trigger creation and voting themselves. So obviously that is a big line item that we are testing and will need to be testing both on DevNet so far, on DevNet Uzo, as well as on testnet as we continue to deploy on testnet and eventually hard fork it. The very good job to Odie on the work of Sentinel. He might talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Masternode reward location reallocation is just waiting on some release notes to be done. We have some further testing that we need to do with GUIX and to make sure that signed binaries work properly before it is really done. But all of the backports related to GUIX for Apple Silicon support, and I think that's the biggest line item for GUIX is really just Apple Silicon support, but all of those backports are completed. We just have to do some testing and make sure that signed binaries and that we get our process down for that correctly. And then EHF as well is very close to being merged. I believe we just need some release notes and maybe a few minor changes, but I think we're really also just waiting for release notes on that one, but you can take a look at the PR itself. Yeah, Odie, would you like to talk a little bit about Sentinel and your new work on v21?
Yes. So a few words on the integration of Sentinel logic into core. So basically, starting from v20 release, all the Sentinel logic is integrated in core, which is the automatic creation proposal of triggers. So gathering all the accepting proposals and submitting automatically to the network trigger. There's a slightly difference between Sentinel and the new v20 core. In order to handle triggers proposed by several masternodes, in order to avoid the concurrency, we proposed to allow only the payee masternode during the maturity window to propose an actual trigger. So that means that only a maturity window masternodes will try to submit triggers. For testnet, yes, it will be 8 blocks, so 8 triggers at the most. Mainnet will be, of course, much more. So if I remember correctly, it's roughly 3 days of blocks. So 1,600 something for the maturity window. Also, each masternode proposing a trigger will vote yes for this trigger, unless if it has received a similar one with the same proposals contained, in order to avoid, generating multiple versions of equivalent triggers. Also, last but not least, the RPCs used by Sentinel to submit triggers and vote for triggers were removed. So a small reason to force people to just remove Sentinel in the future.
All
That
right,
was
so if I
Yeah.
can just clarify or make sure my understanding is correct. So after the voting window has closed, right, that is when the kind of trigger window opens up. And then every block, the payee, the masternode payee, will propose a trigger. So basically the first block after the voting window, a masternode will propose a trigger that includes the proposals that were voted yes on, and they'll publish that trigger to the network. And then if everyone else agrees with it, they'll vote yes. And then basically trigger production will stop. But if that trigger is not correct, then on the next block, the next masternode that is getting paid will propose a new trigger, and people could vote on that one. And all of this voting happens automatically.
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead and talk about collaborative masternodes a little bit.
All right. And we also started working on V21, since V20 is out of range. No, not out of range, close to range, sorry. So the biggest task so far that we marked for V21 is collaborative masternodes, or shared masternodes, if you prefer. So it is currently still under design with the research team, although some implementation has been started. We'll have more information on the next updates to give you. So keep in touch for more info about this feature that we all know that it was it will be more than welcomed by the community. Feel free also to check the list of the merged PRs, as always, and feel free to ask any question for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And today's new guest, Brian, would you kick us off with mobile team?
Yeah, will do. All right, so if you go to the next slide there, so our sprints are staggered a little bit from platform and core. We ended our last sprint last Tuesday. So I'll just go through kind of summary of what we covered in that sprint. I'm going to go fairly light. I mean, feel free to pick out any particular item if you have a question, but I will also be sharing to the community our recorded sprint reviews so that you can kind of get a view of some of the UI work that's being done. I figured it'd be a little bit much doing it all here. It's fairly lengthy. So yeah, username voting. So you've heard about voting development being done on a platform. That's a dependency to this, but we have started on Android the UI related work. So again, won't go into each specific thing. I will probably be sharing the designs though on one of these updates coming up. And we finished most everything in the sprint on Android except for one story relating to the username voting. So just as a reminder, when we first launch DashPay and activate, we're going to have a window of voting where you can request a username in the Masternode network. The Masternodes themselves will be able to vote to approve it. That's just simply so that we give, some benefit to those who want to have a specific username that they've had for quite some time. We want to kind of give that judge up to the network to decide. So it'll be completely decentralized, and hopefully it'll make some folks happy getting the username that they want. CoinJoin. So I've mentioned on Discord a few times, but those who are not aware, we are bringing CoinJoin into the wallet for the creation of usernames. We've been working on this for quite some time. It's quite complex. It's mostly been back-end work. We've got some of the front-end work done too, but basically this will allow the identity to be a bit more obfuscated, to have a little bit more privacy. There's a number of ways that we can implement this, and we've been part of this sprint. One of the things here was to improve the privacy of username registration. So we've ironed out a lot of kinks. Still got a few to work out on the actual processing of the mixing, but it's a lengthy process. So it could take a while to get a username created. So we're looking at other ways to speed it up, make it a bit more UX friendly, and to continue to make sure we have a good level of privacy. Excuse me. So this is the area where I do want to just kind of put a note out there, or a reminder, please don't post any of our kind of new features, particularly with third-party partners, on Twitter or some kind of public forum. We really want to, keep the noise level down. We don't want to, we want it to be a surprise when we go live with it. But one of the on-ramps that we've been working on is Topper. So this is owned by Uphold. It's an Uphold partner, our product. And it's a really good UX. We actually finished most of it on Android already, but then we had to go through some additional business or company verifications with the Topper team. So until we get that finalized and finished up, we had to kind of hide those entry points basically until we got approval. But I'm excited. It's a great way to get Dash into your wallet really quick within about a 2-minute period. Again, it's really quick. The other on-ramp, or kind of semi on-ramp, it's actually more of an off-ramp, to be honest. I should have put it that way, is the integration with Maya. So this is a fork of oh, I forgot what's it a fork of, Shane?
Torching.
Yeah, there you go. And there's limitations there where unless we have a multi-currency wallet, we can't do buy swaps. So the first feature is going to be a sell swap. So it's a decentralized platform. We'll be able to do a sell swap to whatever destination address they want. And we did a review of their APIs. We finished that. It's actually something that we're going to get started on in this sprint that we're in now. Yeah, and it should meet all the requirements we have. The next phase of Maya integration will be another earning option that they're going to implement. So more to come on Maya. And we did a little work on DashPay, a little redesign on the notification screen. And there's also some Rust related work that we have to do in preparation for when everything activates on testnet. Couple small bugs, and a little small UI improvement. So that's it on Android. We did have one release, version 9.05 went out as well. The next slide is for iOS, also pretty productive. One of the things that what we've been doing is working on 2 different branches of code between DashPay and Dash Wallet. That was getting a bit cumbersome on iOS in particular. So a piece of work before we continue on with DashPay work was merging everything in to the Dash Wallet branch, basically. So that'll reduce the overhead that we have when we make changes on Dash Wallet, and it'll just be a simpler code base. The Rust related work that Lucas spoke about earlier on platform also, pertains to the mobile clients, and one effort the iOS team is Vladimir is focused on getting those libraries up and running, not only for platform related features, but also for our core syncing processes. And the whole point behind that is really just to make our sync process more stable and hopefully improve the speed of it as well. On ramps again, so this relates to the topper. We have to kind of redesign the uphold portal a little bit because that's where it's one of the places that it lives. And then yeah, we had a couple small bugs that we fixed, and we also had a release on iOS version 7.05. So that's it for mobile.
Thank you very much. So we are done with the platform, the core, and the mobile teams, and we are moving on to questions. So let's see, what do we have in the question section? Let me go through it. And also, please let me know if I skip one of the questions.
When?
Yeah, I skipped that. So,
Okay.
do you want to take it?
No. I mean, the first one's when, the second one's when Evo.
Yeah, so I think we talked about it very clearly. What's the current state? So we are moving on with Beta 2. I mean,
yeah, Beta 2. So you see the work that we have left. We give updates every 2 weeks. We're doing it. We're going as fast as we can.
thank you very much. Oh, so the first question I see is, what's the status with the SEC? Are all the differences cleared up there? How do you see the classification as security and the list of large stock exchanges?
Well, I'll take this. Now, to start, this is a development update. This is really just to show development progress. DCG doesn't represent Dash either. So that's a little bit, I mean, I can't give like an official answer because DCG isn't officially I mean, it's just a DFO inside of dashboard organization inside of Dash. To go further, sorry, when I did this earlier, that was a fly. People were wondering. It wasn't like a Jedi mind trick. So how do well, there's one thing to mention is that Dash was said to, some exchanges were said to have sold Dash as a security. It's not exactly the same thing as saying Dash is a security. Now, I don't really know the difference. And maybe this is a nuance that isn't worthwhile, but I just wanted to mention that. The next thing that I wanted to mention is that, well, we know probably as much as everybody else. We have received no specific correspondence from the SEC. We see exactly the same thing as our community and people in the out there see. So if you're actively following this, you probably know better than well, you probably know as well as we do.
Right, we have a question about when Evo marketing.
When Evo marketing.
Again, this is a development update. Do you want to give your 2 cents on it?
If DCG is to do Evo marketing, it would be later when Evo is like weeks away from being released.
When we have clear confidence on the timeline.
Exactly.
Question: will the dash pay data contract be changed to incorporate the contract bounds usage?
It already has.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. It is rather feedback, but I'm going to read it. I wish these PPT could be more on user value level. What does this even mean? Sentinel is what? What are the value you guys added?
Yeah, so when we started these updates, the thing that I said was they were a raw look into our development process. And the point of these updates before we were making them public was not so much to tell our community, but to tell everybody else in our team the progress. So the audience has shifted, and as we try to basically make things more understandable for people, but we still need to make things understandable for the other people inside of DCG. So yeah, we could explain what Sentinel is and why it's no longer needed, but it's not always very important, I think, for many people who, if you don't know what Sentinel is, the reasons why we're getting rid of it probably are not very important. You can read up on Sentinel in any dash documentation. You can search online what is dash Sentinel. I'm sure you'd find a response. Just for people now wondering, because I brought it up, dash Sentinel was a little add-on that was used for governance. Okay.
Thank you very much. When can I resell my pre-reserved usernames? Are we still planning on reserving usernames for the Fortune 500?
So when can I resell my pre-reserved usernames? I do not know. That feature has not been yet put on the roadmap. Are we planning on pre-reserving names for the Fortune 500? Well, we're hoping that somebody will. I was going to talk with the diff to see if they would be willing to do that.
Thank you. Question for core. Great progress. Just wondering if checkpoints for the core are planned. And I see you're asking what are checkpoints.
Yeah, and it was said checkpoints as in a client only needs to check back to a certain previous block and no further. My understanding may be lacking though. So,
yeah, so core built into it, every single release that we do has new updated checkpoints that are set by default. And so basically every release that we do, we set that relatively close to the current tip. And then that way, when people are syncing, they don't have to validate all of the signatures and do everything like that. That's really computationally expensive in a block. They still do a lot of handling related to that block, and they do a lot of processing of data structures and kind of interpreting the information, but they don't really have to do a lot of the really computationally expensive signature checks and stuff like that. So that already exists. You can also, there's a very simple option that you can use to disable that if you don't want that and you want to check all of the signatures and you want to do absolutely everything. So from that point of view, checkpoints already exists. Additionally, one of the features that we are working on is a feature from Bitcoin called UTXO snapshots that is basically a checkpoint to an extreme where instead of right now, you still have to look at all of the previous blocks and assemble your UTXO set and assemble all of your data structures. UTXO snapshots essentially lets you say, here is what I believe the UTXO state is at this height or at this block hash, and just go with that and don't care about the past at all. I'm not going to look at any of those blocks whatsoever. So it is a more trusted setup, but it means you don't have to look at previous blocks, so you can get a quote unquote full node up and running very, very quickly, as long as you have someone that gave you a UTXO snapshot that you trust. Again, that's not something that we have quite yet. It's possible that that'll be in V20. If not, it'll probably be in V21, but we have made significant progress towards backporting that.
Not going to be in V20.
Well, a lot of it's already been done.
So you want to do a last minute merge adding in, okay, maybe, but okay.
Next question.
Next question.
Payments infrastructure for developers enable your application with the financial power of the Dash cryptocurrency. How relevant is the Dash cryptocurrency to platform as a payments infrastructure?
I don't understand the question. Do you?
I'm not too clear on it either.
Who's asking the question?
James Doe.
James Doe. Payments infrastructure for developers enable your application with a financial power.
Oh, I think I get it. So right now, obviously, we're a top payment coin, I'll call us. But when platform comes out, maybe the question is how are we going to leverage our payment features to benefit platform users? Is kind of the way I'm interpreting that.
Well,
I think there's a number of ways, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I think DashPay is a very good example of a dApp that uses payments, right? So DashPay is very focused on payments. You make your friends, you make friend requests, and then you pay your friends. So and you pay your friends, and when you do that, you don't use platform, you actually use core. That's the core payment chain. So there's an example. I'm sure there are going to be other dApps where there's going to be like maybe some, let's say, online checkout in platform, but you have to send a proof to the dApp that you paid something, and you have to prove it through core, something like that. But I'm sure there are many types of dApps that can leverage the core payment network.
Yeah, for sure. I think another couple other examples a little bit more into the future, but micropayments, gaming payments, NFT royalties, things of that nature.
Well, micropayments, I don't think so. One this goes into a very side topic, but I don't actually think our core payment chain is extremely very good for micropayments. And why do I not think it's good for micropayments? Well, because when you make a transaction, that transaction lives forever on the blockchain. And there's a cost associated to that, to making a transaction and holding it on 3,600 nodes. Now, that cost is not very high, but for a micro payment, like let's say like a tenth of a cent, the transaction ends up costing more than the actual micro payment. So you probably want to use platform for micropayments. Platform, on the other hand, has features where you don't have to actually keep all transactions forever. And so you can basically make micropayments and then get reimbursed for the actual transactional data, meaning that the actual transaction would probably be 1/100th of the price of having it on core.
Yeah, no, good point. I wasn't necessarily pointing out which, I guess, network it would be processing on, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's a use case that ultimately could be a Dash value.
Yep. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I would like to read another feedback echoing James Doe and Major Rex. I know I, as a non-technical user, would appreciate at least an attempt to put some of the lexicon into layman's language. For example, the convo started by mentioning validating a lot. It would have been useful for an overview what that is, unless your audience thought it just to be other devs. To put it another way, if you all devs could help us grasp this understanding, we can then help to act as a bridge to those new to crypto or to Dash. All you are now, that's similar to what Paul did in his convo with Joel. So yeah, I'm trying to reflect on it. So basically, this development update now contains 3 teams. I guess each team has a little bit different end user, as platform is mostly targeting developers or trying to attract developers. So our users are basically developers who can develop apps on top of platform. With core and mobile, it's more about the end user, non-technical user. And I just would like to emphasize that I very much agree with the general point that we could have done and we can do a better job explaining things. And we will try our best to translate these terms and this lexicon to layman language, as you mentioned. Yeah, just wanted to highlight that we are addressing different audiences here as well. But the general point is taken. What is planned to become a top 100, top 50, top 10 coin again? Forums, predictions, and influencers agree that Dash only has a slim chance. What do you say to the doubters? And when will you see an improvement? Who would like to take it?
I guess
anybody.
I'm not really going to probably answer that question that much. People see our work here. That's what we're trying to show. I do not think that the price of Dash is reflective of our work only. I mean, there's a lot of things happening in Dash. And, you know, if you're asking for our opinion, or at least my opinion on these things, well, you know, we are all in this project. A lot of people in our community, a lot of people attending right now, watching this are, you know, want to see this project succeed. And as individuals, what we can do is our best. So try to figure out how we can create a product that is used by millions, hundreds of millions of users, maybe even billions in one day. Find something that's useful. And, you know, for us in DCG, it's to build that product, build that vision, and get users to use it. So, you know, the price is not in a good spot. That is obvious. We can see it as lower than it's been in a long time. But, you know, a lot of people over the last few weeks have continued their work as they always do, because, you know, that's our mission. And I want to thank people that do work really hard during quite stressful times. So.
Thank you very much for emphasizing this. And I agree wholeheartedly. All right.
I do believe we're at the top 100, at least on Coin Market Cap. Just saying.
Yeah.
I think we're
Yeah. All right. I don't see any further questions. If I missed some of this, please let me know. Please feel free to reach out in Discord or any other forum, Twitter, where you can find us, and we will do our best to answer your further questions. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for the teams, everybody for joining, the audience. Wish everybody good luck and see you in 2 weeks.